There comes a time in your life when you stop explaining yourself. You stop begging for understanding. You stop shrinking just to be accepted. You were never the loudest in the room, never the most noticed, but while they were laughing, you were learning. While they were doubting you, you were building. In silence, in solitude, in strength. The truth is, people often misjudge what they don't understand. They mistake your stillness for weakness, your kindness for softness, your patience for passivity. But they didn't see the storm you were holding back. They didn't see the mountain you were climbing alone. They say still waters run deep, but the world often forgets that. In a culture that celebrates loud voices, constant visibility, and nonstop activity, the quiet ones are frequently overlooked. They're labeled as shy, weak, or unimportant. People assume silence as a flaw, that if someone isn't speaking up, they have nothing to offer. But this assumption is often rooted in insecurity, not truth. Quiet people are often the most observant. While the rest of the room is rushing to be heard, they're watching. They're learning. They're taking mental notes of how people treat each other, of who's genuine and who's pretending. They pick up on the subtleties, the shift in tone, the discomfort in someone's eyes, the contradiction between words and actions. Because they aren't always speaking, they're listening better than most. In school, in the workplace, in social circles, the quiet ones are often dismissed. They're the ones who get passed up for promotions because they don't sell themselves loud enough. They're the ones whose ideas are stolen by the louder voices in the room. And they're the ones people forget about until they no longer can, because at some point, the quiet one makes a move. Not a loud, flashy move, but a powerful one. A move built from years of resilience, thoughtfulness, and self-discipline. A glow-up that no one saw coming, but should have. The mistake people make is assuming that quiet means passive. But passivity is not the same as patience. Quiet people aren't always waiting. They're preparing. They're refining themselves in the background, developing clarity about who they are and what they want. When the time comes, their action speaks volumes louder than words ever could. Sometimes people talk down to the quiet ones just to hear themselves speak. They underestimate their intelligence, their potential, or their inner fire. And the quiet ones usually don't argue back. Not because they can't, but because they know where their energy is better spent. They don't waste time proving themselves to those who are too blind to see. Instead, they keep building, they keep growing, they keep moving silently. Then comes the shift. The moment when the quiet one stops tolerating mistreatment. When they walk away from the people who belittled them, when they stop asking for respect and start demanding it by how they carry themselves. It's never loud, but it's unforgettable. Because transformation doesn't need applause to be real, it just needs commitment. And when the quiet ones finally glow up, it's not just a change in appearance, it's a shift in presence. They walk differently, they speak differently, not louder but with more conviction. Their silence becomes intentional, their time becomes sacred, and suddenly the same people who once ignored them start paying attention. The same ones who laughed are now watching, the same ones who dismissed them are now wondering how they missed it. That's the irony. People often misjudge the quiet ones, and they always regret it too late. Because by the time the quiet one glows up, they've outgrown the need for anyone's recognition. They've already found it within themselves. So if you're quiet, don't rush to become loud. Don't feel pressure to be someone you're not just to be seen. Instead, keep becoming. Keep building in the shadow. Because when the light finally hits you, they won't just see a new version of you. They'll see everything they missed while they were too busy talking. And in that moment, you'll realize that being underestimated was your greatest advantage all along. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences a person can go through. Whether it's being told you're not good enough for a job, being excluded by a group, or facing the end of a relationship. Rejection has a way of making us question our worth. It hits hard, it stirs up self-doubt, and it can make you wonder if you're on the right path at all. But what many don't realize, especially in the moment, is that rejection is often not the end, it's a beginning, a redirection, a silent course correction that life gives us to protect us, guide us, and lead us to something better. We're conditioned to see rejection as failure. If you didn't get the job, it means you weren't qualified. If someone didn't want to stay in your life, it must mean you weren't lovable. But that's a narrow and dangerous way to see the world. The truth is, Rejection doesn't always reflect a lack in you. It often reflects a mismatch. You weren't chosen because you weren't meant to be there. You didn't belong in that space. Not because you were inadequate, but because you were meant for something more aligned with your purpose. Think about how many times you've been spared from something that you thought you wanted. The job that turned toxic, the relationship that would have drained you, the crowd that would have distracted you from who you're becoming. Sometimes life shut a door, not to punish you, but to protect your potential. What feels like a closed opportunity is often just a detour towards something far greater than you imagined. In the moment, though, redirection doesn't feel kind. It feels like disappointment. It feels like loss. That's because we're grieving the version of the future we thought we needed. But here's what happens when you keep moving anyway. Clarity shows up. The further you walk, the more you begin to understand why that rejection had to happen. You look back and say, if I had gotten what I wanted back then, I wouldn't be who I am now. Rejection also teaches you resilience. When you're denied, you're given a choice. You can either shrink or rise. You can dwell in bitterness or grow in purpose. The ones who rise are the ones who recognize rejection not as a dead end, but as a challenge, a call to level up, to refine their vision, to keep going in the direction that builds something lasting, not just something immediate. There's also freedom in rejection. It removes what was never truly yours. It strips away illusions. It clears the space for what's meant for you. When people reject you, they reveal their values, not your flaws. When systems reject you, they reveal their limitations, not your potential. And when life redirects you, it reveals your path, not by force, but by faith. Some of your greatest breakthroughs will come from what didn't work out. The pain of not being chosen, of being overlooked, of being told no, those are the exact moments that shape the strongest versions of you. Because you learn to stand without applause. You learn to move without permission. You learn to trust your intuition over other people's opinions. So the next time you face rejection, don't internalize it. Don't turn it into a story about your inadequacy. Instead, ask yourself, what is this redirecting me toward? What lesson is being whispered beneath the noise? Because often, what you think is the end of the road is actually the beginning of something far more powerful, far more purposeful, and far more aligned with who you're becoming. Now, a glow up isn't just about a physical transformation. It's not about changing your appearance, your clothes, or how others perceive you. The real glow up begins within. It's about a shift in mindset, a deepening of self-awareness, and the commitment to becoming the best version of yourself, not for validation, but for your own sense of fulfillment and peace. The truth is, we live in a world that places an enormous amount of pressure on external appearances. We're taught from an early age that beauty is in how we look, how we dress, how we perform in front of others. But what often gets overlooked is the inner work, the soul work, that truly changes a person. Real transformation comes when you stop focusing solely on the external and start working on the internal. The glow up isn't just about looking better, it's about feeling better in your own skin. It's about being in tune with your mind, body, and spirit. The first step in this process is self-awareness. It's about taking a step back and asking yourself, who am I really? What are my true desires, my strengths, and my weaknesses? Self-awareness isn't a simple one-time exercise. It's an ongoing process of peeling back the layers to discover who you truly are. When you get in touch with your inner self, when you stop letting the noise of the world define you, that's when the magic begins. Because only when you know yourself can you truly change for the better. Once you understand who you are, you can start healing. A glow-up requires you to heal the wounds you've been carrying, the baggage that has been holding you back from reaching your full potential. It's about letting go of past hurts, forgiving yourself and others, and breaking free from limiting beliefs. Too often we hold on to past failures, criticisms, and regrets, allowing them to dictate how we move forward. True glow-up happens when you decide to let go of those burdens. When you stop holding on to the past and start embracing the present and the future with an open heart. Healing isn't always easy. It requires deep, intentional work. But it's the foundation of any meaningful transformation. When you begin to heal, you create space for growth. You make room for new possibilities, new experiences, and new perspectives. And this internal shift manifests externally. You begin to walk differently, talk differently, and interact with the world in a way that radiates confidence and peace. The next step is discipline. A glow-up requires action. It's not enough to just have self-awareness or healing. You have to actively work on yourself. This means setting goals, developing good habits, and sticking with them, even when things get tough. Discipline is about consistency, showing up for yourself even when you don't feel like it. It's about making decisions that align with your growth, not with your comfort zone. It's about pushing yourself to become better, not for the sake of perfection, but for the sake of progress. A glow up also requires boundaries. Learning to say no to things, people, and situations that drain your energy is essential for your growth. You need to protect your peace, your time, and your emotional health. Setting boundaries isn't just about distancing yourself from toxic people. It's about creating a life that aligns with your values and priorities. When you learn to say no to distractions, to negative influences, and to things that aren't serving your growth, you make room for the right opportunities and the right people to enter your life. At the core of all of this is self-love. The most important part of any glow-up is learning to love yourself. This means accepting yourself fully, flaws and all. It means being kind to yourself when you make mistakes, celebrating your progress, and recognizing your worth even when the world doesn't. Self-love is the foundation that supports all of the work you do on yourself. Without it, you can't fully commit to your growth because you're always trying to prove something to others. When you love yourself, you do the work not to gain validation, but because you understand your inherent value. Real glow-ups begin within. They start with your mindset, your self-awareness, your healing, your discipline, your boundaries, and your self-love. When you focus on your internal growth, the external transformation is just a natural result. It's not about impressing others. It's about becoming the person you were always meant to be. And when you do that, you'll glow in ways that can't be ignored, because the most powerful glow is the one that comes from within. Loneliness is often seen as one of the most painful emotional experiences, something that weighs heavily on the heart and mind. In a world that increasingly emphasizes connection and social interaction, being alone can feel like a sentence, a punishment, a sign that something is wrong with you. It's easy to see loneliness as something permanent, an affliction that you'll never escape. But the truth is, loneliness is not a sentence, it's a season. And just like all seasons, it will pass, leaving behind growth, strength, and clarity if you let it. The feeling of loneliness can be overwhelming. You may look around and see others surrounded by friends, family, or romantic partners, and you can't help but wonder why you're alone. In those moments, it's natural to internalize the feeling, to think there's something wrong with you, that you're not worthy of companionship or love. But what if we reframed loneliness? What if we stopped seeing it as a failure and began to understand it as a necessary phase of self-discovery and personal development? Loneliness, when experienced in its true sense, can serve as a mirror. It forces you to look inward, to examine who you are when no one is around to distract or define you. In our busy social lives, it's easy to lose touch with ourselves. We often surround ourselves with people, not necessarily because we enjoy their company, but because we fear what it might feel like to be by ourselves. Loneliness provides the opportunity to reconnect with who we truly are. It's a time to explore your passions, reflect on your dreams, and invest in yourself without the external pressures of meeting others' expectations. When you find yourself in a season of loneliness, it's important to remember that this is not an indefinite state. Just like winter gives way to spring, loneliness has an expiration date. It might feel like you're stuck in a perpetual cycle of isolation, but this is simply a moment in time. The seasons of life are constantly changing, and soon enough, connections will begin to form again. In fact, many of the best relationships are built during periods of solitude. When you're alone, you're more likely to focus on what you truly need in a friendship or partnership, not just what you want in the moment. You develop a better understanding of the qualities that matter to you and learn how to appreciate the relationships you do have when they appear. Loneliness is also a season that can encourage creativity. Without constant social interaction or external stimulation, your mind has space to wander, to think differently, and to come up with innovative solutions to problems you might not have otherwise considered. It's a time to dive into projects that excite you, to take risks in your career or personal life, or to pick up hobbies you've always wanted to try. Loneliness can become a fertile ground for creativity, a blank canvas on which you can create something truly meaningful to you. Moreover, loneliness teaches resilience. It shows you how to stand on your own, how to build your own strength and find your own comfort in being alone. Learning to be okay with your own company is one of the most empowering skills you can develop. It fosters independence and self-reliance, and when you emerge from that season of loneliness, you'll realize that you don't need others to feel complete. You are already whole. This realization gives you a sense of peace and confidence that cannot be shaken by external circumstances or other people's opinions. However, the key to navigating loneliness is perspective. It's about shifting your mindset from seeing it as a punishment to viewing it as a phase of growth. It's about recognizing that being alone doesn't mean being unworthy. It means you have the space to work on yourself, to nurture your own mental and emotional well-being, and to prepare for future connections that will be based on mutual respect, understanding, and shared growth. In time, the season of loneliness will pass. The connections you seek will naturally come. But until then, treat this time as an opportunity, not a burden. Embrace the solitude, because it is in these quiet moments that you build the foundation for your future happiness and success. The next time you find yourself alone, remember that this is just a season, not a sentence, and that growth is happening quietly beneath the surface, preparing you for the next chapter of your life. There's a natural instinct in all of us to want to prove others wrong, especially when we've been misunderstood or doubted. It's a powerful feeling, the urge to stand tall, to show people that you are more than what they assumed. But here's the truth that many of us don't want to hear. You don't have to prove anyone wrong. You don't need to expend your energy on showing people that their opinions about you are wrong. In fact, the more you focus on proving others wrong, the less energy you have to focus on proving yourself right. The desire to prove others wrong often comes from a place of insecurity. It's human nature to want to be seen, to want to be validated, and to want to have others acknowledge your worth. When people doubt you, it can sting. It's a form of rejection, a message that they don't believe in you. But in truth, the opinions of others are just that, opinions. They are reflections of how others see the world based on their own experiences, their own limitations, and their own biases. Their doubt is a projection, not a fact. When you focus on proving someone wrong, you're letting their perception of you dictate your actions. You're allowing their doubt to shape your drive, and in doing so, you're giving them more power over your life than they deserve. The truth is, you can't control how others view you, and you certainly can't change their minds by engaging in a battle of wills. People will believe what they want to believe, and no amount of proving them wrong will alter that. What you can control is how you choose to show up in the world, how you define your own worth, and how you build your future on your terms. There's an immense freedom that comes with releasing the need to prove anyone wrong. When you let go of the urge to convince others of your value, you stop looking for external validation. You begin to trust your own judgment, your own voice, and your own vision. The only approval you need is your own. The only person you need to impress is yourself. When you live in alignment with your own values, when you trust the path you're on, the opinions of others become less and less important. Focusing on proving people wrong can also prevent you from moving forward. It keeps you stuck in the past, constantly revisiting old wounds and old doubts. Every time you try to show someone that they were wrong about you, you're replaying their negative judgment in your mind, reliving their disbelief. This energy could be better spent on moving forward, on building the future you want. By releasing the need to prove others wrong, you free up mental and emotional space to focus on what truly matters, your growth, your vision, and your journey. Another powerful aspect of not needing to prove anyone wrong is the ability to let go of unnecessary competition. When you constantly feel the need to one-up others or show them that you're better than they think, you're engaged in a race that doesn't actually serve you. Life is not a competition against other people. It's a journey of self-discovery and self-empowerment. The only competition that truly matters is the competition against your past self. Each day you are tasked with becoming better, stronger, wiser, and more aligned with who you are meant to be. And that's enough. Moreover, the energy spent trying to prove people wrong can often be toxic. It can fuel bitterness and resentment, making you focus more on what others think of you than on your own goals. It can create unnecessary conflict, pushing you to seek out confrontations that don't serve your growth. Instead of wasting time on those who don't believe in you, why not invest in yourself? Prove to yourself that you are capable, that you are worthy, that you are capable of achieving what you set out to do. And when you achieve your goals, you won't need to point fingers or shout about it. The results will speak for themselves. Ultimately, you don't need to prove anyone wrong because your journey isn't about their approval. It's about your own evolution. It's about living your truth, following your passions, and creating a life that reflects who you truly are. When you focus on your own path and stop worrying about others' opinions, you'll find that the people who truly matter will see you for who you are. You don't need to prove anything to them because they already know your worth. So let go of the need to prove others wrong. Let go of the energy spent fighting battles that don't matter. Instead, invest that energy in building the life you deserve, one that is true to you. Your success will be the proof, and it will speak louder than anything you could ever say to someone else. The best way to show the world what you're capable of is simply by being yourself and achieving what you set out to do without ever having to prove anyone wrong. In a world that often values outward appearances and achievements, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that your worth is something you need to earn through transformation. Whether it's a physical glow-up or the accumulation of status symbols and social accolades, we sometimes believe that we need to change or present ourselves in a certain way to be recognized or valued. However, the truth is much simpler and much more powerful. The right people will recognize your worth exactly as you are, without any need for a dramatic transformation. People who are genuinely aligned with your path and who understand your value won't require you to prove your worth through superficial means. They'll see the essence of who you are, even when it's not dressed up in the way society might expect. The people who truly matter, the ones who resonate with your energy, your spirit, and your intentions, will always recognize your value without needing you to put on a facade. A glow-up can be an external transformation, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve yourself or feeling better about how you present yourself to the world. However, we need to remember that external changes, while often empowering, are not the foundation of our worth. They are merely additions to the already brilliant person you are on the inside. Your worth doesn't stem from how you look or how you perform. It comes from who you are, the qualities you embody, and the authenticity you radiate. And those who truly see you will recognize this inner brilliance without needing to be convinced by a new hairstyle, a flashy outfit, or the approval of others. The right people don't need you to fit into a mold. They see the light within you without it being masked by trends or expectations. They don't measure your worth based on how popular you are or how many followers you have. Instead, they measure it by the depth of your character, the kindness in your heart, the passion behind your actions, and the integrity in your words. They recognize that your value lies in how you treat others, how you carry yourself with resilience, and how you stay true to your principles, even in challenging times. One of the most freeing realizations is that when you stop trying to change for others and stop seeking external validation, the right people naturally begin to gravitate towards you. This is because authenticity attracts authenticity. When you stop pretending to be someone you're not, when you stop masking your true self, those who resonate with your real energy will see you and will draw closer. They won't see the need for a glow-up because they're already captivated by who you are underneath it all. People who recognize your worth don't come with conditions. They don't expect you to meet a certain standard before they acknowledge you. They won't make you feel like you need to be different in order to be worthy of love or respect. Instead, they will appreciate you for the things that make you unique, the way you think, your passion for the things that matter most to you, your empathy, your sense of humor, your quirks, and your values. These are the things that truly matter in meaningful relationships, whether they be friendships, romantic partnerships, or professional connections. When you allow yourself to be seen for who you truly are without feeling the pressure to fit in or change for others, you give yourself permission to attract the kind of relationships that are rooted in real understanding and mutual respect. You stop wasting time with people who need you to be someone else, and instead you make room for those who love you as you are, who celebrate your authenticity, and who are excited to walk alongside you as you continue to grow, not because you need to change, but because they appreciate the person you're becoming in your own unique way. In the end, the right people don't need you to be anything other than yourself. They'll recognize your worth in a heartbeat because they aren't distracted by superficial standards or expectations. They see the real you, the person who is compassionate, who is driven, who is honest, and who is committed to living authentically. So stop chasing a version of yourself that you think others will accept and start embracing the person you already are. The right people will find you, and they will value you for exactly what you bring to the table without any need for a glow.